Lacey from Shyne by Mabu, and I have my co-host here, Ciara the Juice. We have also in the building,
Hey,
Ola. Hi, y'all. So before we start, I do want to say that this is like a ladies only topic. So the only person that's going to be here who is a male is our recording guy. So shout out to Timmy. Thank you for being here and recording. So the topic today is a little controversial, and it's an important question that I think everybody should be talking about. Should men have a say in abortions? So before we start, I'm going to read something that I found statistically showing. So the reflective Democrat Party campaign, out of 42,000 elected officials in America, 71% are held by men. Even more staggering, 90% of those positions are held by whites, and 65% of that 42,000 are white men. White men make up about 31% of the US population. Women, meanwhile, make up 51% of the population. The organization compared this data from elected officials in the summer of 2014 to the recent census today. So I think that starts it off. Like, how do men make decisions for our bodies, especially when it's, not to say like this, but it is white men, 72%. So right. That's a lot. 71%, I'm sorry, 71. So how do you guys feel? Wait, you want to start off?
Yeah, I just feel like because men will never know what it feels like to have an abortion or will never have to go through it. I feel like they should have, I feel like they should be heard out. You know what I mean? But at the same time, sole decision, I don't really think it's just because
okay.
of the person themselves. Like, if they're going through it, like, that's the only person that needs to have a say. You know, but that's just me.
Okay, that's just your opinion. I felt that. I think that I can feel like in general, men should not have a say overall in our bodies and what we do with our bodies. We shouldn't, like, men shouldn't have the one and only say. It shouldn't be that 71%. I think that women need to be in there. So either it's 50-50. I feel like it takes two to tango. So everybody knows what it is to be tangoing. So I feel like it takes two to tango. I think it takes two people to, I guess, sit down and say, hey, how do we handle this situation and how do we move forward without your feelings being hurt or my feelings being hurt? But that 71% bothers me because men will never know how it feels to carry life. They'll never have the body changes that come with it. Wait, I know you and I spoke about that previously to this podcast. We do have our side convos. So it's like I think it's an even weight. You know that lady on the statue and she has like the weights and it's held like this? It can't be like this. You gotta like balance and say, okay, this is something that it does take two to create a child, but this one person has to go through the body changes, the emotional changes, the mental changes. So I think that, right, that part where the man doesn't, he just is on the sidebar, which is important. But hey, how do you feel, Jazz?
She went out.
Okay. So
I'm
I'm
piggyback on that.
mm-hmm.
I do, empathize a little bit with the men because there are some men that really want kids and want to be there for their children. And it is sad when they want the kid and then the mother doesn't and the mother just goes on about the business.
Right.
So I feel I'm very in the middle about it, but ultimately I feel like no one but one person should have say over the person's life, the person's body, because they're going through it.
That part. Okay, how do you feel about men in therapy? I know that I'm going to bring up a situation. Say, the two are going through it. They decide that, an abortion is the correct thing for them to do. What happens when that person goes to the back of the room to have the procedure performed, and the man sits there. Why aren't there therapy sessions for him and not just the woman? Or is that fair? Is it fair to say, well, he didn't go through the experience, he didn't lay on the table, he didn't, so what emotions
I
can
feel
he
like
feel?
us as women, because we actually go through, I want to say physically a little more than men. So we feel like, they don't understand unless they've been through it, and they can't go through it. So they won't really ever truly understand. They only would have an idea of it. But I mean,
Agree.
it is kind of traumatizing as well. But I just feel like for women, we forget that it is traumatizing for the men
I
because
agree.
we're
Oh,
actually getting
Auntie
through it.
Josie's in the room. Sorry to interrupt you with,
Hello.
hi, Auntie Josie.
Hello.
Good. Well, since you're here, I want to jump in with you too about, should men have a say in abortion?
Men have a say in abortions. Yeah, I think so. Would they say matter? In the long run, it's going to be the ultimate decision of a woman because it's her body. But do they have a right to speak peace? Yeah. But in the long run, the ultimate decision is going to be that that's
I
my
agree. I agree. Do you know, well, we just spit a fact that 71% of the men who are in like our political positions are men, and they're white men that make decisions on our bodies and abortion laws. And so I think that that should definitely be more weighed out. Like it should be 50-50. It shouldn't be just 71% of a specific race making that one decision on a woman's body. I think that's crazy. I think that's
right.
bananas.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
and men
too.
in therapy too. Do men get therapy? Like, do they get therapy when they go into the clinic with you and they go through the experience? Do they get it?
I don't.
Notice that there's a lot that could be on their mind. Like we think about us as a woman having to go through it physically, but mentally, does anyone ever think, okay, well, maybe he feels a certain type of way about it also. And that's when, like you said, we sit down you sit down as adults and have that conversation on what decision you're about to make or how you feel about these decisions, because we are always worried about what the woman feels, and it is very important, but it is also important to check on a man's mental also.
I agree. I agree with that. We got to check on the men's mental.
Definitely, if it's like a marriage, a relationship that is definitely on the same page. So if they're both in agreement of, terminating that pregnancy, then yeah, I think that it's beneficial for both of them to have therapy, some type of a reach out feedback session, because everyone goes through it, and I don't think anyone is exempt.
Mm, I agree. And should men be allowed to go back there with you as support? Like in a birth, you're allowed to have somebody with you. Why are men not allowed behind those white doors? They don't even know who's gonna be there, who the doctor is, who's touching you, which, let me spit a fact really quick. Abortionist physicians are 74.1% male who are performing these abortions. It's not a woman or a 74% chance of the time, it's going to be a male performing that procedure. So should a man or whoever you're with or whoever that supportive person is, whether it is his baby, it's not his baby, should they be allowed behind those doors to experience that with you?
Again, if it's a consensual relationship and it's a consensual decision, then I'm going to say, why not? It's just like you said, they're allowed back there when the baby's being born. If this is something that they both have decided to move forward with, then yeah, why not? I think that in some cases, if you pre-schedule or set up some type of a reason for that person to be back there, they may or may not. But I don't think that that's something that's offered or just allowed off rip. It's something that I think you have to set up in advance.
And it shouldn't be that way. I feel like if we are giving men a say and it is this 50-50, why should it have to be something where, you know, you got to get the doctor's consent? I mean, how do you feel, Jasmine?
I feel as if there shouldn't be, like she said, if it's a consensual decision, why not let the other party go to the back? It's, you know, when there's life being born, you know, you expect someone to be there and support you through what you're going through. So why not do it when you're making this decision?
Would you travel across state to do this? Because now that we have laws in place, certain states don't allow abortions at all. So this 71% of our politicians who are men have banned this. Would you travel across state and do this? Or whether he wanted it or not, say it was something where it was like, well, it wasn't something that was mutual. Would you drive across state to do that if it was something that a decision? Because we keep forgetting that abortion doesn't just mean like, oh, I want to terminate this pregnancy. It can be something that is a physical thing. Like the baby could be growing outside of the fetus. It could make you sick. There's certain circumstances. So now we're given not given the choice, but it's like, what happens if, say you're in Texas and Texas is like, no, we don't do abortions. Are you going to travel across state to, say, New York or Massachusetts or Virginia to get one done? Whitney, I see the rolling in the eyes.
Because,
I was like,
just yes, because I feel like there's, like you said, there's different reasons. Like it could be a mental reason. Like you can't force anyone to have a kid. That's why we have certain mothers who are not ready to be mothers who kill their kids, and so they're not ready. You know what I mean? They could have been forced to have that child, and now they're forced to take care of this child, or they were tricked into having children, and now they have them by themselves. Like there's a lot of things that abortion can prevent, like a lot of homeless kids. You know what I mean? People say have the baby, but we have all these kids in foster care that nobody wants to help take care of. And it's just going to be adding these innocent babies into this messed up system when, you know.
And you said people, do family members have a decision, or is this something that is just kept between you two?
Sometimes, like in certain, in certain cultures, if you're young and you have, or even if you're living with your mom or whatever, they will damn near force you to get an abortion if they feel like that's the right thing. So some people feel like they don't have a choice. You know what I mean? And when our reality, like if we knew better back then, we have a freaking choice. Like we could have, you know what I mean? I feel like if we knew better, we do better. But sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And yeah.
I don't think families should
like to try to force women to do things with their bodies, and it doesn't affect nobody but that one woman.
I mean, and then again, ultimately, it's going to be that person's sole decision. I mean, mommy can say, you're going here, but now we get in runaways. Now we get in people who's just being downright, you're rebelling now, and that's not a good situation either. So, yeah, I don't feel as if, I get it. Parents are here to try to lead you in the right direction, right? So at this time, it's not the right time to be conceiving or bringing a child into the world, right? So you're supposed to, I guess, take that lead by example. So, but still, again, for me personally speaking, it's my body. And if I choose to, then that's what's going to happen. If I choose to go to 9 months and carry, then that's what's going to happen. But everyone's say is heard, and I'm going to listen to it, but it does not mean it's going to have the impact on my ultimate decision, because it's going to be about me. I'm going to be the person who's going to be left with the child. or I'm going to be the person that has to sit on that stretcher in the back room with the doctors, you know, like you said, Tanasia, predominantly white men who's taking this fetus out of me, you know. So that's going to be my decision, and it's my body. And I know that at the end, if you've ever experienced it, it's you who goes through that, and you alone.
Yep.
So
Yep. I agree. And why do we think that like African American and Hispanic women have the like just a higher rate of getting an abortion versus our white women peers? Like Planned Parenthood, what is it? What I got in my notes? Planned Parenthood makes $1.6 billion a year. And out of that $1.6 billion, 95% are abortions of that money. So why is it that Hispanic and I guess Black women and or ethnic, let's say ethnic women are more likely to get an abortion than our peers? Is it because there isn't a man's decision? Is it because of family? Is it because of culture? I know sometimes that plays into effect. Like a lot of cultural things happen, and it's like, no, like we're not doing this. Or is it that we have more of them in our areas? Is that what it is? Like Whitney, I see the pointing. I'm like,
it's
go
a
ahead.
mix, honestly, of all of that. I feel like there might be more in our areas to get us to stop, you know, populating as a, you know, Black culture. And I feel like also maybe more of our people use it as a birth control method instead of in, you know, like a bailout method. And girl,
go ahead, say it, just say it. We're on the podcast, just say it.
It kind of slipped my mind, but yes,
it's like it's not a contraceptive. It is a contraceptive, but it's a what kind, like, are we going and we getting birth control? Are we getting some form of birth control, or is it just like a
every
oopsie,
time
I'm
I'm gonna
just
let
gonna
you just ski in me, and then, you know, I'm gonna go to the
right
clinic 3 times a month? Like, no, we can't, you know, it's a limit now.
ew.
I feel like
No,
it comes from all of those.
yeah. I mean, if you're seriously finding yourself back to back, then we need to talk about other alternatives, right? Like there's other things you can do other than aborting babies. You can get your tubes tied, right? Burn them things off so you don't have to be worried about that ever again, right? Or you can ask your mate who clearly, like you said, is skeeting all up in you and don't care about those
Look, I
15
didn't mean to say that like that.
to the abortion clinic, right? So
right
maybe he needs to go and get, what's that thing called when they snip their little things?
Oh, vasectomy,
Baby, you might need to get a snip if you want to keep having this type of fun. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
I mean, but again, that's to each their own.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how
and it's a
many.
conversation that needs to be had between the couple.
Absolutely.
Like, do I
Absolutely.
want kids? Do I not want kids? Like, because if you just say to somebody, hey, you know what, we're in this relationship, I don't plan to have kids for the first like 5 years, then y'all got it already. And he's like, okay, cool. Maybe you guys are on the same, or hey, how about 3? How about 3 years? That you guys agree on it. So I think that's a conversation that in relationships, when you first get into them, and it needs to be had. Like, hey, like, do you want kids? Do you already have kids? Is this something that you want to do? Like, when are you going to be stable? Are we financially stable to be doing this before we even hop to abortion? So that way we can back to, do men still have a say? Yeah, they have a say because we had a whole conversation about it. So this isn't a surprise to anybody.
I feel like when you, like you said, when you're going into being sexually active, I feel like that is the most important conversation that you need to have. Each party needs to know what they want, what they don't want, and everybody needs to know what they're ready for and not ready for. But sometimes that doesn't happen, and then things go further than you think they're gonna go, or things are going and you think, oh well, everything will be okay. He's here, but then when a baby comes, you're stuck. And I mean, a lot of different reasons why people go for, an abortion. But then to back to the question when you were asking, why do you think in the, it's so many in the Black community? Well, we do think about how we're striving. It is expensive financially to support a child. So, where you probably have Susie over here and her parents are there, and are able to help her financially. Well, they, talk her into, go ahead and having the baby. As to where Black female doesn't have the option. So, you know, this is the option that she thinks she has, and she doesn't have that support. And she knows that she can't do it financially or whatever the case may be, mentally. Or like you said, it could be health related. Like it goes beyond, to what the reason could be.
That is true. And also to piggyback off, little white and Black thing, I feel like too, most, I feel like it's instilled more into white Caucasian people to wait until marriage to have kids. You know what I mean? And us as Black people, I feel like we really don't have to talk with our kids about sex and what happens when you have sex. We say just don't do it. You know what I mean? Don't ask no questions, just don't do it. You ain't supposed to do it, don't do it. So we like, okay, why can't we do this? Let's go do it. And then we like, oh, that's why we're not supposed to do this. You know what I mean? So I feel like ours is more trial and error, we
we don't have that type of, we don't have that type of generational wealth. If we're thinking about history, we don't have that. So, and we don't have that structure that they have or that they built throughout our years. So it is kind of, when you do have a baby, sometimes it's great grandmama, grandma, mom's helping you, if it is a single parent household, or if both parents are in the picture, it really is like grandma, mom, great grandma, like everybody is kind of in that knit circle, in that community, is going to help take care of that child like a tribe. But we don't really see the whole like, oh, mom and dad in a household together, for 50 years. And then the next generation, so and so's together for 50 years. We don't really get that. So I definitely understand that they're more so taught to wait until marriage. Like marriage is the utmost thing to look up to when you're in a relationship. So I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but I know when I was coming up, I don't know everyone's age, but I know when I was coming up, my mom definitely, and my grandma, it was about those qualities, and they instilled that historical, like, you need to get married before you have your first, intercourse session. But it's all about, I guess, what you're listening to, right?
Right, society too. Like what's
So when
going
we
on
come
in
up,
media.
yeah. So, and I think, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but I think that it's more of people picking up around what's around them, not what mom and dad is saying these days. It's more or less like what's going on in the streets, what's the hottest tune or hit in the records. Like I was talking to my son the other day, I was like, I never knew when it was cool to be a junkie, popping pills, doing whatever. And I'm like, and then his response is, because that's what those rappers are saying today. Okay, well, those rappers were saying the same shit when I was coming up. And they also were saying, like, she's a bugaboo, or, they they said things in the songs that you didn't necessarily have to take off role modeling after. You know what I mean? But right now I feel like as soon as you hear something, people jump to it. And I don't think that it's more or less about what mommy and daddy's saying anymore. It's about what Joe Smo and your boys up the hill got to say, and how you're responding to it. Do you want to be in the in crowd, or do you want to be in the out crowd? So I think those things were installed in us. I think that somewhere along the lines it got like lost though.
I think the generation now is more they're just like all electronics. Like they didn't have much family time together. So
we grew up on 16 and Pregnant. Do you remember when that was cool?
Yeah,
when that whole
but
show came out?
The generation now, like they don't have any of that. So they missed all that, and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna just do this to be like them and da da da.
They don't have time
and
to
then
watch.
Also, most of us in the
Teen
Black
moms.
household didn't grow up as a family, so like,
right,
it's a lot of stuff that we just see and
we just do.
We haven't gotten, like you said, generational curses. We still have those just flowing within.
I also think that there's a lot of that. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that there's a lot of things that we just have to pay attention to, and especially as parents. Okay, we know why we didn't listen to our parents. Some people would say, my parents never talked to me. My parents yelled at me. My parents, is the way my parents, came off. Didn't make me want to listen to them. I just thought they was just nagging or whatever. That's the stuff we have to pay attention to progressing, like moving forward. Okay, we know maybe we have to reach these children in a different type of way than what our parents did or the parents before that. So maybe that they could listen, or maybe that they would, open up their eyes and realize that that's just for show. That's just for clout. These people, you see these people living this life, but honey, it's really not like that. It's just like we have to talk to our children rather than talk at them. That could be a big part in, a lot of these kids' lives.
Yeah, communication. And I feel like a lot of men don't know how to communicate. Like bringing it back to men, I'm like, a lot of men don't know how to communicate. So now we're saying, well, should men have a say? But I'm like, do some of them even know how to communicate to say that they have a say? Do they even know how to emotionally connect and communicate to say, hey, I really do want this baby and I really think we could do this. And I am really like, really down, or hey, I'm not ready at all. I'm going to tell you that now. I'm being honest. But if this is your choice, then I guess I'm just going to have to either rock it out or you just might not see me. Like, I think sometimes that's the communication. And again, that parenting.
Some men where you're like, oh, I'm pregnant. They're like, well, shoot, I don't care what you do. Da, 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 da. Or you'd be like, I'm thinking about getting an abortion because I'm not financially stable. You want to have that conversation. And they're like, oh, whatever, just do what you want to do. And then you get the abortion. Oh, well, I'm mad at you because da, da, da. And it's like, I tried to have this conversation with you. What do you want me to do? Like, I only have 9 months. Clock ticks, baby.
Well, not really. You got a couple weeks. If it's an abortion, you got a couple weeks. The time is ticking. Like, we can't wait.
To get the abortion, the non-surgical abortion, you only got 9 weeks. And you don't find out you're pregnant about almost 8. So you really got a week.
Right, to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So men, if y'all listening, y'all need to learn how to communicate effectively and efficiently.
It is okay to show emotions and to communicate. I don't know why.
That goes back to the parenting thing. I feel like men don't know how to communicate because of how they were raised. A lot of men are forced to sit down. No, you ain't supposed to do this. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be this. You're not supposed to be strong. Don't cry. How do you communicate without expressing yourself?
Exactly.
And a lot of them, they need to figure that out because, everyone might. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it's their mother. It's the way they raised them." But technically, we don't know how these mothers were raising their children, right? These young men, right? It's right back to what I was saying. They rather follow Peter and Paul than, to take after the role model that's right in front of them. So that leads to my question is if a man says to you, as a woman, no, I'm not ready for a kid, and neither are you. And I know we're saying that it's our choice, but is that to be taken into consideration before you do the next step?
Yes. That's a communication part, because now like Like you can't say when you had the baby that you didn't know and you thought he was gonna be there and you thought he was gonna hold your hand. No. He told you what it was. Like, and you can't expect that either. Your expectations can't be super high where you're like, well, he's gonna come. No, he told you what it was. So I believe a man should have a say and say, hey, I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
always
us
tell
not
people,
taking it
like, you
personal.
have to
Don't take
have
it
a baby
personal.
for you. You cannot have a baby for nobody else, because at the end of the day, you are stuck with that child. Not saying in a bad way, but you have to make sure this child is alive. Like, you have to make it to the end with this child. It is not easy, okay? They cute and stinky and all that, but it's a real deal out in these streets.
Mm-hmm.
This is real life.
It is.
Does
But
anybody have any lasting thoughts? I know we're about to run out of time. So I'm like, does anybody have any lasting thoughts? This was a great combo. For Women's International Day. And Still a Man is sponsoring this, by the way. Shout out to Still a Man, David and Robert. Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you guys for tuning in. I know that everybody wants to do their shout out. So I'm T Lacey again. You can find me on Shyne by Mabu. I also hop on to the Juicy Talks, late night talks. Sometimes I co-host with Miss Ciara. You can find me at Mabukai, Mabukai. And if everybody wants to give where you can find everybody, it'll be linked below too.
I am the Juice 92. All my socials, that right there.
Okay. You can follow me on Instagram at j.kenyella. And you can also find me on Spotify, chatting up with the Juice.
The juice. Okay. Right. And don't forget to check out Still a Man, S.A.M, Still a Man on YouTube, Anchor. Yes, the men are supposed to come back and do a whole entire session that's closed off about the same exact topic. We're not allowed, but you will be able to listen to it and the men will be able to listen to us. So I'm so excited. So guys, I hope you guys have a good night. Make good decisions, make good choices, and know that it is always 50-50. Keep shining. Bye.